it was a really comfortable notion that my entire life was planned out and it was going to be good and I was going to make all this money and have all these nice things, but I was not fulfilled. I felt that there had to be more.
Yeah.
There had to be
awesome.
something more to life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome everybody to the Shoreline Show, where we explore entrepreneurs' mindset and just the mindset of an entrepreneur and the challenges that they go through. And we have today Paul Reiss here with us from Protein Pints. So we're excited to have him here. He's actually local to the area. And welcome, Paul.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely.
Great to be here today.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we usually kind of start off by kind of telling us about you. So tell us about your childhood. Like, how were you raised? Like, what stemmed your entrepreneurial spirit? How were you raised? Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Hudsonville, Michigan.
Cool.
So if anybody knows Hudsonville, a lot of farmland,
Lots of
Yeah.
farmland.
home
yeah.
to Hudsonville ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Ice cream had a big part in my life growing up. I ate it just about every single day.
Wow.
And
I love ice cream. I'll give you that.
Love ice cream?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I gotta be careful because it definitely does not like me, but I do like it.
I need some background. What do you mean by that?
Dude, I mean, when you get older like me, I mean, you're still a young guy. I mean, I'd be 400 pounds if I ate all the ice cream I wanted.
Yeah. No, I hear you. That's something that I feel like I experience as well. The older you get, the more you have to taper off the sweets.
Big
Yeah.
time.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, people think I'm joking, but I could easily be like overweight, like no problem. Because I just like sweets. Like, ice cream's amazing. Who doesn't want to eat it every night before bed?
Exactly. Yeah. And who wants to limit themselves? You could do like one scoop, but
Right.
nobody
Yeah.
wants one
You
scoop.
Nobody
can't
wants
just have
that.
one scoop, especially
Yeah.
of Hudsonville ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
3 or 4 scoops and like the hot fudge and caramel and
Yeah.
Exactly. And that
Yeah.
was a big part of our journey too, was the stopping of eating ice cream.
Yeah.
You know, got into fitness
Yeah.
and health,
yep.
and that meant no more ice cream, or at
Yeah.
least, way less.
Yeah.
And that's a serious problem.
That is
Yeah.
a serious problem.
Yeah.
The
So
struggle's real.
You fixed that problem, right?
Yeah.
I have. I actually eat ice cream every day now, but
Yeah.
it's not traditional ice cream. It's protein ice cream.
Yeah. I'd love to get into that definitely and hear a little bit more about how, especially being so young, how you've taken that. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about though your childhood. Let's start there. Let's start at the beginning. Like who are you?
I grew up, again, Hudsonville, Michigan.
Yeah.
My parents, Matt and Carol. My dad is an engineer.
Okay.
And my mom is an occupational therapist.
Okay.
My mom loves to travel. My dad, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my earliest experiences, I remember traveling with my mom. So when I was 5, was the first big expedition. We went to Brazil.
Oh, that's not small. That's big. That's,
Yeah.
That's
When
crazy.
you're 5 years old.
When I was 5 years old,
Wow.
yeah.
That's great.
Went to Brazil for the first time, and in following years, just all these different trips with my mom. She was the kind of person where instead of spending money on material things like possessions or gifts,
More
she
experience.
experiences.
That's
exactly.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely try to do that with our kids. I got 3 kids, and we try to do that as well, where it's like, I think you learn so much from seeing different. We get stuck where everybody does. Doesn't matter where you live. You could live in Brazil and do the opposite and come here and you're going to learn a lot, right? Or the opposite. You live here and you go to Brazil. You just start to learn that people live differently, but doesn't mean it's bad or good.
Yeah.
It's just different, which is kind of cool. And I think it drives also entrepreneurial spirit that you see different things and you're like, oh, that's how they do that. And that's pretty awesome. And I can bring that here. And,
Yeah.
and,
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
My kids are, my oldest is 15, my middle child is 13, and then my youngest is 12. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And what kind of trips have you taken them on?
So our goal, so my oldest we've taken to Guatemala, so we've done where we went there and built some houses and did some kind of cool things like that.
That's awesome.
pretty much every Caribbean island you can think of. I mean, maybe not every because there's so many, but we've been like most of the common ones. Cruises and flown to islands. I'd say my favorite place we take them, honestly, it's kind of Americanized, but we do love it, is Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. We enjoy Puerto Rico, but still, you know, although we travel a lot, I would still say my kids' favorite trips are when we're serving others, and that's the whole Guatemala thing, right? Where you got friends there, and they start building relationships. And like I mentioned on another podcast once, as my kid was just playing in a cabbage field with a kid with a bamboo stick and a baseball, like, right? And they're playing baseball out there. I'm like, and they'll never forget that, right? It's just something unique and different, right. And you learn a lot from it too, right? And realize that no matter where you go, you can find good people that are caring, loving, and establish relationship and close relationship if you choose to. So we still have close friends that we talk to all the time. And I mean all the time, quite a bit, like every day almost, from Guatemala, and they're just friends, right? Which is kind of wild, right? So that
is awesome. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
so when these trips that you went on, what is the, like, one of the trips that stands out the most to you?
I would have to agree with the mission trip.
Okay.
I went on a mission trip, I think, for the first time when I was 15.
Mm.
And I had traveled I'd been outside the country, but not with the intention of serving others. Yeah. So we installed water filters in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
That's cool.
And that was a big eye-opener,
yeah,
for sure. And definitely the most rewarding trip.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. How long were you there?
So we were there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And just being around people that had absolutely nothing.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, but I say nothing. I mean, like, materially, but a lot of times I felt like they had more spiritually than I did at the time.
Yeah.
I can respect that for sure.
Yeah.
They don't, I think we have a lot in the United States where we worry about things that necessarily probably shouldn't even be worried about, or even cross our mind to be worried about, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
First world problems.
Yeah, first world problems. Yeah, we definitely have a tendency to make a lot of those up. But I think some of those first world problems and that mentality that we have also creates the world we're in. Like I hate high consumerism. Like, I think it's like, oh yeah, is that really a good thing? But I think that's what also makes the United States like great, right? Is that we consume so much, and I think that's what it creates jobs. It creates opportunity for other people.
There's a fine line.
There is. Then you start to create waste and stuff. But definitely. Yeah. So what you would say that was your favorite trip was Dominican Republic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'd choose, that would be the one.
Yeah.
Nice.
See, I've been to Haiti. So that's pretty much the same island, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, same island.
Yeah, so I've been to Haiti, and that was probably, I would still say Guatemala. I had more heart in Guatemala than I did Haiti. I would say Haiti just tore me up, and there's only so much, like, I mean, that was a hard thing.
It felt, well, and I haven't been to Haiti. Steve has.
Yeah.
And what he has told me is especially the first time he went there, that he just felt like it's such a hopeless place.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way.
That it was hard to even feel like you were doing anything. Like, what am I doing? What am I accomplishing being here? You know?
Yeah, I like to say, like, Haiti to Guatemala is like Guatemala to the United States. So, like, if you go to somewhere like, I would think it's probably the same thing with Dominican Republic. So if you think, like, of the difference between Dominican Republic and the United States, it's like Haiti is, like, on a whole different, like, level of craziness.
Yeah. We were in an area called the Batays, I believe.
Yeah.
And they were immigrants, I think, from Haiti, but they'd come to the Dominican, but the Dominican didn't want them, so they put them in camps.
Oh,
sugarcane camps. So neither of the nationalities would accept them. They didn't have, like, birth certificates. They didn't have any form of identification, and they weren't allowed to leave.
That's so messed up.
Yeah.
And how I understand, are they processing sugarcane?
Yeah.
I heard that's brutal.
There's these massive sugarcane farms all around the little village.
Yeah.
And, we took a van and miles of sugarcane farms.
Yeah. I heard that actually is very, It's probably one of the hardest things to harvest from what I understand, and I've never done it, but that's how I understand. And yeah, it kind of reminds me, there was a movie on that where somebody was stuck in like an airport or something like that, and it's like you think about that, like you go to a different country thinking that you're going to be able to get help, and now you're stuck and now you can't leave. And you know, I think that's the issue with a lot of these countries where, you know, it's like that's why like human rights is like so important, right? Like why do people want to help? People aren't helping these people. They don't think about them. They're stuck here.
They're the forgotten.
They're the forgotten, right?
So sad.
It is sad, and it's crazy. But kind of going back to like your life. So you do all these mission trips. Did you feel like that played like a toll on who you are today? Like seeing some of that craziness? Because I mean that's kind of shocking. You were 15 and here you're going to these places where these people are forgotten. Do you think that messed you up a little bit, or do you think it helped?
I think it helped. I agree. A lot. We were in a safe environment because we had people there that were helping us. So we did witness some disturbing things. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're going to take those moments and take that experience, and it's going to, I think, really contribute to your development as an overall person.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I would say the hardest thing I ran into when I was in Haiti was there was this, he had been 14 or 15-year-old kid. And in Haiti, they don't have the tools, or even the parents don't have the chance environment to help mentally challenged people. And this kid was mentally challenged, and he had no clothes, and nobody cared for him. Like he was just like homeless, just wandering around.
So sad.
And that was like the hardest thing to this day. One of the hardest things I've ever had to process instantly. Seeing this kid, and all the younger kids would walk up to him and punch him, and like literally punch him in his junk. And he would be crying, and he just sat there. And I grabbed the kid, put my arm around him, and I emotionally couldn't process it. Like it was probably one of the hardest things. Is you're like, and I was just, I'm not gonna lie, I was like,
that rips
snot
you
coming
out.
out my mouth. I was like crying, just like, this is insane. Like here in the United States, these kids, like the police would show up or something.
Yeah.
Nobody cared. Like not one person. You're like, this is insane. Like, and
so sad.
it is so sad. But no, that's cool that your mom recognized. It sounds like, was that your mom that you went there with, or no? That she recognized, like, hey, if I can get my son at a young age to get into these environments, it definitely teaches him that, you know, you have privileges, right? You know, I kind of said before is like, you know, we're all entitled a little bit just living in the United States, right? So how much can we help other people, and what can we do for other people? And I don't think there's anything wrong with like building wealth, starting businesses, and doing things here. I think that's a beautiful part about entrepreneurship, but it makes you realize there's a responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know?
I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah. There's a responsibility that comes with it, and saying, hey, you know, as I build a business that we're going to get into of yours, it's like, okay, what's that responsibility look like for my business? And the cool thing is you can choose. There's so much need out there. But doing nothing is not the answer, which a lot of companies, I guess, do nothing.
Right.
Right. Like, but I think the new business is coming up. I think that's the beautiful part about technology is we are shining light on some of these things and saying, wait a minute, is this okay that big companies and companies that are making it today aren't doing their part? And the new companies are coming out and saying, well, I'm willing to contribute to society, humanitarian rights.
You know, isn't it crazy when you look at all these new little companies that are coming up, and they're building their company, but they're building it with a social benefit.
Big time. To change the world.
Yeah. And some of it I look at sometimes when I see, you know, are they doing it for the right reason?
Right. That's a good question.
You know, some of them. And is what they're doing, is it helping or hurting?
Right.
You know?
A lot of the time it hurts.
And I'll just one for example, like, and I'm not not even gonna name the name of the company, but people might know. It's a shoe company, and they you know, they have these shoes, and if you buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes to somebody in need of shoes. Well, I've been to Africa, and when I was in Africa, what I found out is, like, people are always shipping stuff over there, like truckloads of shoes or clothes or whatever. And really that hurts
Right.
their economy, especially when you get into the small villages, because in the small villages, each village has their own tailor
Right.
that has an old sewing machine, and that he makes clothes for the people in the village.
Right.
Like he made all this.
But when you ship a whole pile of
But when
clothes
I
over
ship a whole pile of clothes over there, now all of a sudden this tailor,
there, right.
who that's how he made his money,
Right.
like now he doesn't have an income because all these people thought they were doing the right thing and shipping all this stuff over there. So
That's smart.
it's help that hurts it, but at the same time, I love seeing that there are companies that are doing these social
Well, I think it comes
agendas.
down to is the best thing you can do as a company is create opportunity.
Right.
I think about, I think that's a beautiful part about America is that we have the opportunity to do what we wish to do. If we want to start a company, we can't. The opportunity is there that we
Right.
can do that. If I want to have something or do something, there is opportunity. I think the hardest part was when there isn't opportunity,
Right.
and you're stuck in a country because you thought you were going to get sovereignty, and you're stuck in these cane fields because people now put you in a position, and now there's not opportunity to even get out of the country.
Right.
That's
like
tough.
that's really bad. Like I
So-
thought it was when in Africa, I thought it was really bad. Like, but that's really bad. Like
'Cause you're
you
stuck.
are stuck. There is nothing that you can do.
Yeah.
But like in Africa, these villages that I was in, like, yeah, there's not a lot of opportunity at all, but at least they could. And they had like little micro funding to start like little things in their
Right.
communities, but not like the opportunities that we have here. Like literally, like you, for example, are an entrepreneur starting this crazy company right while
At
you're
22.
in school. Like,
Yeah, so
which
how-
we're going to talk more about that.
Yeah, like so kind of dive into that. So how did you get into you're young, you're seeing all this stuff. What drove you to get into the business world?
When I was younger, I honestly didn't have much of a drive. My
That's
life
cool.
my life was really good, and I feel like, part of growing up in this country, you're blessed with all these opportunities. So, right, I had a plan. Like the plan was to do what everyone else is doing and go to college. Basically, as a young person in this country, you're in school for most of your young life, and that's all you got to worry about is your grades and
Yeah. You get good
Sports.
grades and everything should work out.
exactly. So I
Yeah.
didn't put much time or thought into doing other things. I went to school and had a good time.
Right.
So
Partying up in college, right?
I did do that for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I think some kids do that. They just go, and I don't think it's bad. It's just they're discovering who they are and what they're called to do. But sometimes that takes a process, right? And it's probably, so you're right now you're running this company, and you're starting it, and you're still going back to school. Like, what are you going to school for?
Entrepreneurship at Michigan State University. So
Is that a degree?
it's a minor
I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
and a program.
See, I didn't go to college, so I didn't know. So you can go to school for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and I'm doing this weird thing where I'm not taking a full class schedule
Okay.
because I need to spend more time focusing on my company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking, a class and doing a few
Yeah.
other things on campus. So I have that student status, so I can be part of the program, stay involved in that community.
So tell me, so you're going back to do this entrepreneurship thing, but you were there. You didn't start out doing that in college. What did you do in your freshman year?
So I actually transferred to Michigan State last year. I was at Aquinas College
Okay.
for 2.5 years. I was studying accounting and finance, and then I played soccer and esports,
Esports, that's kind of sweet.
video games.
I think that's like a new thing. So I don't even know if a lot of people would know what that is, and that's actually a thing in college now, which is wild that that's just how online things are getting, where now you used to go to college and you used to get scholarships to go and play like football or soccer. Now you're doing it for video games, like soccer video games and football video games, and you're getting paid, or not paid, essentially paid, because you're getting free college sometimes.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to play video games, like football, like Madden, let's go. Like, think about
It's
it.
so crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It was awesome. I
Yeah.
originally went to Aquinas for, only playing soccer, and I heard about the esports team,
Yeah.
and a friend told me about it. I ended up trying out for fun, and they offered me 5 times the scholarship that I was currently getting for soccer.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
But that's where the world's going.
Potentially, I think there's definitely,
I love hearing it. Yeah.
I definitely think that there is a lot of opportunity in esports and in the virtual, and as things progress, VR, all of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, because you paused there when you said that for a second, do you feel guaranteed that that's where the world's going, or you feel like what do you think there? Because it seemed like you had a hesitation for a second there.
As technology progresses, obviously, I think esports is going to continue to grow, but I don't think that's going to mean that's going to take away from other sports that people love and
Yeah.
play, if
That's
that makes
good.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it makes complete
Yeah.
sense. I kind of, I believe in where the virtual world is going. I think it's going to be huge, especially for people that I think the virtual world, as technology advances, it becomes easier to maintain. What I think is going to happen is, especially when hard times hit in the economies, because the fact is, you look over history, we don't always have it as good as we do now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You've learned that, right, in college. And it's like there's times where we're at war. There's times that even different societal changes and completely. So I think as times get a little bit harder and economies shift, and we hit harder times, I think people will, if the virtual world are set up and hey, you know what, maybe, perfect example, a hard time could be your legs get blown off, or I might be able to have a disease and I can't walk. I can still be able to maintain the exact life that I've always thought I could through virtual world. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I can see where we live on a global economy through virtual worlds, but smaller towns and communities will band together for the human interaction. I think you're going to see these people that you're like, okay, Protein Pints, or like our company, City to Shore, that's where people are going to go get their needs for their community involvement, right? They're going to say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I do play, and I'm in my virtual world in my living room, but you know what? I can't virtually eat Protein Pints, right? And you're like, yeah, and we also, when we do it, we're at a football game. Come join us today. And you're like, cool. And then there's a community of people that are involved behind that. I think that's kind of where the world might go.
Yeah.
Where it's like global, but yet localized.
Scary to think about it.
Yeah. I think it could be good. I think the next generation, I think you guys grew up for the most part with technology, so you understand things that like we don't, and I think the healthiness and the unhealthiness part of it. We're just like, oh, this is new to us, eating it like we were off candy, and now we're like, give kid a little candy. You're like, no, I grew up with it. This isn't a big deal. So you'll be able to put like certain factors into place to protect people and certain things. I think that's where I think the world might go.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think, younger generations, of course, learn from the mistakes that they see oftentimes. I'm sure you guys, from the generations before you, saw certain mistakes or things that they did that you didn't think was right, and that's how you've dictated your life. So I think, it's part of evolution.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it'll be cool just to see where the world goes. I think it'll be on a global scale, but smaller communities when you do decide to engage with your community.
Yeah.
Because,
So tell us how you got started with Protein Pints. Where did that come from? You loved the ice cream. You said you stopped eating ice cream. Why did you stop eating ice cream?
Yeah. So I'm a student at Aquinas College. I'm playing soccer, esports, working out, training every day. Same time, I'm focusing on my grades, trying to be the best version of myself, essentially. And because of that, I stopped eating ice cream because if you're someone who eats ice cream every day, you're going to notice the negative effects that it's going to have on you.
Trust me, yeah, I know, yeah.
And also, the older you get, my metabolism maybe wasn't the same as when I was 15 and I could just eat it every single day. So there's that. And I stopped eating ice cream. And I really got into protein products. I figured out that basically I needed more protein to be this version of myself that I wanted to be. Not just protein, other good foods as well, but protein was a big part of that.
Well, I think we lack in a lot of protein. I think I would say, I mean, if you're especially working out and you're active, I almost feel like my body at times feels like even like now, like even as I'm speaking, it's like, no, like my body needs protein, right? Like,
yeah.
Otherwise it starts eating away all the other stuff that you don't want it to. So if you can give it, you know.
The rule of thumb is you need 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, which is quite a bit. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you need 150 grams of protein per day.
Yeah, that's wild. I never heard that. That's pretty good.
If you're engaging in muscle strengthening activities and fitness.
I've always heard you want to drink half your body weight in ounces of water, but I never heard of every gram. I'm going to take that.
That's to build muscle.
That's to build
muscle and improve
What
performance.
about just to maintain muscle or maintain health in general?
I think, I'm not sure, so don't quote me on this, but I think it's around half your body weight.
Okay.
So if you're 150, you want around 75.
Yeah.
But don't quote me on that.
Yeah. No, that's good. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you get started? Like the idea. So you're saying I'm on this protein kick. I love protein. I'm drinking protein drinks or whatever. What made you get into and say, okay, I want to start diving down that path?
I actually remember the day. So my best friend Michael and I, who's also my co-founder, we got done with a workout at the gym, and we ended up going to the supermarket because we wanted something. It was a hot summer day, and we wanted something to cool us off, but at the same time, we wanted something that was going to, not take away from our progress that we just made at the gym.
Yeah, right.
So we're in the protein section.
And honestly, that's how I feel a lot.
Yeah.
I've been hitting the gym like 3-4 days a week, trying to do something with myself, but then,
when you do that,
twice a
you're
week,
like,
I'm going to the ice cream store with my kids or something. I'm like, and it's like, dang, that sucks.
I feel that, yeah. When you get done with a workout and you feel like you should reward yourself with a treat, but a lot of times that treat that you're going to pick is going to hurt.
It's defeating to what you just did.
Exactly. So it defeats the purpose. And we went to the supermarket, and it's a hot summer day, right? So we went immediately to the frozen section, and we see this ice cream that we know and we love, and we intentionally decide, not to get it because we know that it's going to hurt our performance and take away from that workout. But we were really looking for protein ice cream. We thought, hey, there's got to be a healthy version.
There's got to be one out there
with higher protein.
Yeah.
And what do you know? There's nothing at the supermarket. So we do an online search, and we couldn't find anything.
That's very wild.
Yeah.
So big light bulb goes off.
Big light bulb went off that day. And Michael and I, we for a whole summer, we put one idea a day in a spreadsheet, and that was our idea for that day. So
what made you come up with that?
The spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Michael and I have always done stuff during the summers where we would try to create something or do some kind of entrepreneurship activity. Love creating stuff. To go back to like my roots, my dad's an engineer, so he's always been problem solving and doing stuff. And ever since we were kids, Michael and I were very curious. We would like put rocks out in the driveway and crack them open and
see what's inside.
Yeah, or mess around with a motor or.
It's interesting that you say that, because I feel like the world, you're rare. You're rare, because I do feel like the world that we're in a spot now where I say this a lot is we're killing creativity and the idea of adventure and thought process, and you're bundling that all up. You don't see it much in a lot of the things that we do. I'll ask people, and I've asked Derek this before, the producer of the show, or whatever title you want to give him, the everything guy, and he
Hi, Derek.
Yeah, hi Derek. But it's like, how many people do you know? and I'll ask you this, how many people do you know that have went into their back garage and actually have created something, invented something? And I think something's killing creativity in the world today. And the idea to try something or doing it. I don't know people that like, one of the most inspiring places I've ever been, and I don't know if I mentioned this in different podcasts or not, but it was the Edison Ford Museum in Fort Myer.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And it's just so unbelievably amazing to me because you see how these guys, they would just go out there and they didn't claim they had the answer for anything, but they were trying everything. They're like, why not? Try this, try this. Like, hey, this sounds like a sweet idea. Why don't we do this? And I'm like, that's awesome. But I don't think you see that. I think sports are great, and I know that's weird, but I think sports is like most kids these days are like, no, I'm just going to go after sports. I'm just going to go after, I don't think they're going after like thinking. Does that make sense? Like thinking like you're sitting there with your buddy, you're like, we're cracking rocks open, we're trying things, and we're like, to me that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. That's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So how did you develop that relationship with him? Michael
and I met first day of kindergarten on the bus.
Oh, fun.
And we sat next to each other, and we've been best friends ever since. We lived close by, so we had the same bus. And for years, we rode the same bus, and I think that's how our friendship developed. Like, even days that I didn't want to see him, I was going to see him because we're riding the bus together.
Right.
And if you're with someone that much, you're going to become friends eventually.
Yeah. How cool is that?
So
how did you guys get on the whole inventing? Like, I'm not saying you invented stuff, it's kid wise. I know you're not like, oh, we're solving the world's problems, but how did you get into, hey, let's do this? Like, what did that conversation look like? Like, hey, let's write something down every day. Like, that's interesting to me.
I don't remember the exact conversation why we started that spreadsheet, but it surely had to do with that we wanted to create something.
Yeah.
Michael and I were always curious. I think everyone is innately curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's where that came from, that sense of curiosity and how to solve problems. Growing up in West Michigan, there's a lot of problem solvers all around you in this community. And
Big
it's
time.
really cool. So, going to school and seeing that in the community was a big inspiration for us.
That's pretty cool. So you guys are in the process of writing, and that day you wrote something down, and you said just a protein ice cream.
Yeah, we had I think it said protein pint ice cream that you can eat as a snack. That was our idea for the day. There's a lot of bad ideas in that spreadsheet, but that was the one.
That's how it always works.
Good one. Mm-hmm. That was 2021, and then typically what ended up happening was Michael and I would start working on this idea during the summer. Like, every summer we'd have this new idea. We actually had 3 failed ideas before Protein Pints, and school would come along and we wouldn't have enough traction, or we wouldn't believe in the idea enough, and we'd just go back to school and kind of forget about it.
Right.
And that's what happened every single year.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think, again, it's something that the world's designed, unfortunately, sometimes to do that, right? And
I want to hear about what are the ones that didn't work.
Yeah, that would be fun to know.
Yeah.
We had
smashing rocks.
We had a water bottle smart tracker, I think, so you could see, like you said, how much water you were drinking every day. Probably already a thing at this point.
That's smart. I like it.
I think one of them was like a pull-up bar that you could also retrofit as a deadlifting thing. So it's like you have it up here, you could pull ups, and then you could put it on the ground. Those pull-up bars you have at home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could take it, put it on home, and then maybe like put some plates on it and be a deadlift.
Oh, that's cool.
And then another one was we did something around, there's these things called blood flow restriction bands, and it's a very, very new science, but like Olympic athletes do it, and people in like the NFL, NBA, and essentially it's a very interesting science. You can build muscle, the same amount of muscle you would with going to the gym and lifting heavy weights, but essentially it cuts the workout time down by 3, and you use light weights, but you build the same amount of muscle.
Really?
What?
It's a very new science. Yeah. It's called blood flow restriction training.
I'm gonna have to look into that. That's interesting.
So how do you limit the blood flow?
So there's these bands, and I've actually been doing this for years. I still do it to this day. It has all these amazing benefits, but you can put it around your arm right here or your thigh, basically.
Yeah.
And it restricts the blood flow from going to your arteries from your limbs. And what happens is your body thinks that you're not getting enough blood flow. So it releases these chemicals or hormones. I think it really increases your human growth hormone, and it basically thinks that you're lifting way more weight than you are. So let's say I'm lifting 10 pounds, my body thinks I'm lifting 50 pounds, and it's going to build the same muscle that it would if I was lifting that 50 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, it's an incredible science.
I'm going to have to try this.
I am too. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I still do it to this day. It's great. It's a hell of a workout, though. It's not easy.
It's harder.
It is really hard. The first few times, but once your body adapts to it, it'll get easier. But
so is it a lot of reps with smaller weights?
exactly, smaller weights, more reps.
Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
Interesting.
Did you end up making these bands or no?
That was our idea. So we had some prototypes, but what we discovered is that the timing wasn't there yet for this product to be kind of introduced into the market. What we found is that wearing these gyms at the band would make people very self-conscious. Like, imagine wearing bands on your arms and going to Planet Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what we discovered, was the market timing wasn't
Not ready
there.
for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I still believed in the science, and I still use those bands. So it's nothing.
You know, it's funny that what I hear from you is it's like failure was not. You've never really failed. You're just trying things. And it doesn't even mean that it's not a thing in the future. It doesn't mean it's just a time and a place. And right now that's not the time. But it could be in the future. And who knows what ends up happening. But, and I think, I'm guessing you're the type of guy also that doesn't mind failing. Like, at the end of the day, trying things, say, oh, that didn't work, try something different, and keep trying stuff. Are you that kind of guy too? Like, I think about like the Michael Jordan. You think about Michael Jordan. He's missed the most free throws, I think, than any other basketball person in history, right? But he didn't give up. He kept trying, right, and kept doing his thing. And although you tried all these different things, they didn't work. But you keep swinging, and yeah, I don't know. It's just it's inspiring. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with Michael Jordan. I don't think you can fail if you don't give up. Like, I think giving up is the failure.
That's the failure, right?
Yeah.
When you give up, that is when the failure is.
Yeah.
The failure isn't that it didn't work. The failure is that you stopped.
Right.
You gotta stop stopping.
And I think people
right?
let life beat them up, and then they quit at
Right.
things instead of it just being like, hey, I'm gonna keep trying to
Right.
do things. Yeah. Oh, that's good. So so you tried these things, then you landed on Protein Pints.
Tried these things, and I was at school at Aquinas, and I decided to drop out. Wasn't because of Protein Pints. I think, like I said, my whole life I had just been following the course that had been set in front of me. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys have experienced something like that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you watch the previous episodes of ours, we both. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's part of life.
Yeah, I do too. And I got to a point where my life I could see the next 40, 50 years to my life. I could see myself, my entire life planned ahead. I was going to finish my accounting degree, go get my internship, work this many years at this firm, and then go to this firm, and then retire by this age. And it was a really comfortable notion that my entire life was planned out and it was going to be good and I was going to make all this money and have all these nice things, but
You weren't fulfilled from that idea.
I was not fulfilled. I felt that there had to be more.
Yeah.
There
That's
had to be
awesome.
something more to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it.
and it's worth the risk.
What's the bigger risk, right? Not
To be
trying or
miserable,
not
you're
trying, right?
right.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because you could have done that, but you wouldn't have been happy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's interesting because
Right.
I do feel that way about myself as an entrepreneur. I see some people and they have their lives figured out more than I do. And I see it, I'm like, wow, you guys have your retirement set up. You have your job figured out. Everything is like perfectly set up. I purposely put myself in, I always do this, in interesting spots where, and I do, my life is amazing right now. But the fact is, I will always try something to change the world, do something different. I don't know. Let's say, I mean, we're doing this podcast right now, right? And we're sitting here, and if this works out and it ends up being this huge thing, right? And even if it doesn't really matter. It's just goal is to change people's lives. And if it did work out, I'd probably try something else as well, right? Like, why would I not try to start, I don't know, I mean, through relationships, I might hear something you say, like, man, this is what I thought. Like, I've heard this from this guy. Let's do something, you know? And you're always doing something. And to me, that's fulfillment. It's just doing things more than it is this end destination. It's just always doing something that's cool or unique. And I think that's fulfilling, you know? Mm-hmm. But sometimes you question if you're doing the right things because the world tells you that you should be stable more than, and entrepreneurship, I don't think is real stable. I think it's more, you're just trying things, right? Like, I think if you're at this point with Protein Pints where you're stable and comfortable, you're probably not stretching yourself further that you probably should be trying to stretch or try, you know?
I'd agree with that for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, so you're turning around and kind of going back to your story a little bit here. So you guys are now in the point where you're quitting school, and now kind of finish that story.
I dropped out of school and didn't have a plan, but
so you didn't have a plan at that time.
My plan was to figure things out.
That's good. That's all right. Yeah, that's good.
Plan was to figure things out, and and it was, a lot of it was faith based. So I felt like I didn't have a great relationship with my faith. So I figured that
getting
was
closer to God. Was that the plan? Is to kind of like seek that out a little more?
Yeah, I felt like I didn't really have a relationship with God, and I was like, this is probably more important than anything else.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
More important than school. So I should focus on this. And
cool.
I spent a few months really working on my faith life, and I was doing a lot better mentally. I just felt more fulfilled. I felt better than I had in years. I felt like, despite not having a plan, the fact that I had this relationship with God, I was just a lot happier. Mm-hmm. And at the time, my best friend Michael was at University of Michigan. He's a computer science student, and this is during COVID. He's really struggling, failing some of his classes.
Life's just getting him.
Life is getting him. He's stuck in his room all day. Only leaves to go get the meals because it's COVID. Very little social interaction. He's not in a great place. And we had a conversation about that, and I put some pressure on him. I said, maybe
that's what a good friend would do.
Yeah, maybe this isn't what you want to do. Maybe you should drop out of school and with me and see what happens. And what do you know?
That's awesome.
I think a little over a month later, he ended up dropping out of school.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I mean, the world would tell you you're crazy. Like, that's crazy. You're convincing your friend to quit school. Mm-hmm. But I think the truth is that you recognized that happiness doesn't always ultimately come down to dollars and success. It comes down to what you're called to do. And I think that's when people start to get frustrated with themselves, is when they know that they have something in them that they're supposed to be doing and they're not.
Yeah.
And I think that he felt something in him boiling. I was in manufacturing for 10 years, and I always had a hard time in manufacturing. And I look back now and I didn't realize why I struggled with it as much as I did, because I worked in a normal job. We had a great life, but worked in a normal job, and I think that's great for a lot of people. But my entrepreneur spirit, I think, was bubbling, and I knew I was meant to do more, but I didn't listen. I just kept going and go to work, pay the bills, go to work, pay the bills. And you realize you're like, wait a minute, no, there's more in me. And that actually ultimately for a while, I would say I went into not like, I wasn't like super excited about life for a while. And I think the reason for that was I was called to do more. And it sounds like that's what you were kind of encouraging. I'm like, man, it wasn't like a do less. It was like a, man, it's just, this isn't the box you have to live in. Let's do some stuff, you know, which is pretty cool.
I agree with that. When did you realize that over your 10-year span of working in manufacturing?
So when I was 18, my situation was a little bit different. As when I was 18, I went into manufacturing, and because of my hard life that I lived a kind of a tougher life. I wanted to prove to everybody that I could make it, so I wanted to be a company man, right? So you can't go from being a loser to going into the workforce and being a loser again. That was not going to happen, right? In my mind. So until I could get through mentally that I was like, hey, it didn't necessarily doesn't mean you're a winner too by going to a job that you hate. I had to get through some of that mentally, and that took, like I said, 10 years. And that was, I don't know. I mean, it's when Shelly and Steve essentially sold my house.
I talked him into quitting his job.
Oh, there you go.
That's exactly what it came down to.
It is.
Yeah, same situation with you and your buddy. She just convinced me. She's like,
quit. Be done with it.
But I'm like, man, like that's hard because I got a kid and a wife at home.
Right.
I'm like, can you just quit? But it paid off. Yeah. I mean, if you factor in how amazing, like I love my life, like right, like now it's like it paid off tenfold, 100-fold, right? Like whatever, and maybe not all financially, even though financially way better, but it's also everything else that comes with it. It's the freedom it's the entrepreneur spirit that I'm called to do the things that I'm doing, and it's crazy. Yeah. And I think that's what you're telling your buddy.
And do you ever think about, like what maybe life would have been like if you had stayed, like, you know?
The fact is, it probably would have affected a lot of things. Yeah. In a negative way. Yeah. I'm not saying that my marriage is it's amazing now, but I'm not saying it would have made it fall apart by any means. But there was times that I wasn't the most friendliest person to my family because I didn't like who I was. Yeah. Could have maybe ended up in a divorce? Who knows? I don't know. I don't want to say that, but it could have, I guess.
I don't think that, but I think just looking back at when you were in that job, like, and knowing that if you would have stayed there, look at all the things that you would have missed out on for your kids. Yeah. That you had the freedom to do.
Even like teaching my kids entrepreneur spirit. Right. Now, like my kids see my kids see where my life is now, and like they see the people that are involved, the lives that we're changing, my clients, and they see all these things, and I think that changes to where they're not stuck in a box anymore either. And I think that's what you're doing. I would always joke, but it's serious. I'm not joking. I'd rather live poor and live the life that I do now, or broke. I don't believe in saying poor, but broke and living the life I live now than have money and go back there. Yeah. Because it's like there's a lot more creativity. There's more life. I don't know how to explain it. I think you guys are picking up. I hope the audience is too. But I think you guys are picking up what I'm trying to say. It's more of a life. No matter, it has nothing to do with money.
I think so, yeah. That's a good point. And
I think that's what you're trying to tell your buddy.
I think it's like the people in these countries that you go to help, and they don't have anything materially, but they have peace. Yeah. Yeah. So. And
they have each other, and they have community. And that's where I kind of talked about earlier, and we were talking about is like, I think that's where we'll have a global scale. That's the manufacturing facility for me, global. There is stuff that is out there. You still need the global scale, but I think I think people thrive and desire a sense of community. Mm-hmm. And I think the people that put that together really well and can figure that out in the future are going to be the winners.
I agree with that.
They're gonna be communities, and I don't think necessarily. I think it's gonna be companies, Protein Pints, City to Shore. I think it could be municipalities, small towns, and especially as internet gets better, you might find like, hey, you know what? I I want to control, maybe not control, but I want to be able to, I love this small little town that maybe didn't have the opportunity before, but I can have a coffee shop in this small town. I can have things in this small little town in the middle of nowhere. It can be beautiful and cool, and we can have parks and we can do things in communities. And I think in the people that bring that together, maybe you have the movie nights outside and do things. It could be municipalities, it could be businesses, I think it could be churches, it could be all sorts of things that I think those communities, those people that can figure out how to bring those together are going to win in the future. And I think that's what you're trying to do when you got your buddy to quit. You're like, let's start a community. You didn't know what you were really, did you have Protein Pints in mind at that time? It was an idea, but I don't know if it was necessarily a business yet.
Yeah, we hadn't decided on Protein Pints. I think that relationship with God, though, kind of gave me so much trust and faith. I finally like realized that if I just trust in God and like listen to intuition, everything was gonna work out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that, just having that faith, I didn't need that plan. I didn't want that plan. I just trusted him, and
yeah. Do you find that you're kind of getting addicted, not addicted, I hate using that word, but it's kind of true, is like, I find for myself is like, so when I quit manufacturing, there had been this trust, right? You trust God is going to, he shows up and he always does, right? And you have to have the trust. Now it's like the unknown is kind of exciting. You kind of like that unknown. Do you have that in your life where you're like, I don't know what God's plan is for even Protein Pints, but I kind of like that too. I don't know what the plan is, but I know it's going to be good because it's always better than what we always think it's going to be.
100%, yeah. And it all goes down to, chemistry too. One of the largest, best, I think, producers for dopamine is novelty.
Yeah.
Is what?
Is novelty.
Oh.
So novel experiences, new things that aren't according to plan. That's one of the greatest factors of happiness in your life.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's looking at it from a scientific perspective.
Yeah. I think there's that's cool. I think that's the beauty about trusting in, for me, which is God, Jesus. That's for me that's the beautiful part, is the unknown. And I find for me, it's also God he doesn't want it to be the way I planned, because then it ends up being very about me more than it is more about, it's always better, but never the way I planned. And the reason for that is because it's like, he's like, hey, bro, this isn't about you. Right? Yeah. Like, this isn't about you. And kind of thing. Does that make sense?
That's a good point. It does make sense.
Yeah.
It does make sense.
Even how I like met my wife and all that, it's like sometimes when I was mad at God for things that didn't go the way that I wanted.
Is that how that happened?
Yeah.
You weren't doing the best and your wife came along?
No, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, no, 100%.
He wasn't doing good at all, and Aaron came
nothing
along.
about my life, and then she just shows up, and which is crazy to me to think about, but yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know right away?
About when I met her?
Yeah.
Definitely.
You did?
That's the weird part. Most people, I don't know if that's the case for everybody, and but it was with this weird thing, because she actually came over with a girl that I kind of had a crush on, and she came over, and there was something. So in the second she sat down, it was the weirdest thing. It was weird, and I'm like, oh yeah.
And you're like, okay, this girl's gonna be around for a while.
100%. It was like that for me, 100%. There was no doubt in my mind.
Do you have a girlfriend?
I do not have a girlfriend.
Not yet.
Hear that, ladies?
Not yet. Hear that?
He's like, Protein Pints is my girlfriend.
Protein Pints is like my child.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you
It's
go.
your child.
I don't have time for.
Yeah, not yet.
No, you got so much
You're
going on.
young. Good grief. How old are you?
22.
22.
That's crazy. I think about when I was 22. That's amazing.
I was married for 2 years. Well, 22. I was married for 4 years already at 22.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. So yeah, I want to get into a little bit and dig into how you got into like where you're at. Like, how did you get into that? So you're like, you're quitting school, buddy. Let's go. You're not happy. You quit too. We're gonna figure some stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Play off that a little bit.
After I convinced Michael to, I don't want to say I, but let's say, let's say God. Let's say God convinced Michael to drop out, and,
Yes.
and I just nudged him in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
We were working on this idea for about a week called it was called Found, and basically it was going to be like some kind of application where you could visually see your progress building certain habits based around your faith. It's like a faith-based habit building app, and there was a parable that Jesus said in the Gospels about the man who builds his house upon the rock. So that was going to be that was the idea of the app is every habit that you built, you get like a new rock, and eventually you'd have a house, and you could see your that was the idea.
That's cool. I like it.
And it was all right.
You have some
but
pretty good ideas.
It was all right, but I don't think that either of us felt too attached to it. There's already a lot of habit builders out there. For an idea to succeed, the timing has to be right.
Yeah.
The market has to be right. There has to be a market for it, and then you have to have the team. So that you have to have the right team. So those are the three things: market, timing, and team.
Yeah.
And we liked the idea, but at the same time, we weren't 100% focused on that. So we ended up going back to that old spreadsheet, and we saw the ice cream, the protein ice cream idea, and immediately as soon as protein ice cream was suggested, we jumped on it. We're like, yes, that's what we're doing. It was almost like what you said about your wife. You just knew it was the one. And for us, it was the same thing. We almost knew that it was the right idea.
You knew it was the right time. You knew it was the right idea.
You had the right guy.
Yeah.
You had your buddy with you. You're like, let's roll.
We had the market time. The market was right. The timing was right.
Yeah.
And we had the team.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you're like, let's go.
So how did you develop it then? You knew you had the idea. How did you go out and make protein ice cream? Like, you live in Hudsonville, where we have Hudsonville ice cream. So, and you loved ice cream. So what was that process like?
It's a great question. The first thing we needed to do is figure out if it was even possible to make a high protein ice cream. So what we did was I bought an ice cream maker off of Amazon, a Cuisinart ice cream maker.
Yeah.
And then I went to the store and or checked out a few websites like how to make ice cream with high protein. Got all the supplies and then went back to my house and made some recipes, and they were all right. And they only got better. So we tried that about 30 different recipes before we kind of frankly realized that we didn't know what we were doing. And that's when we realized that we were going to need to go out into the community and find someone who had some expertise, who knew how to make ice cream.
So you went to Hudsonville Ice Cream?
We did actually not go to Hudsonville Ice Cream. Hudsonville Ice Cream is a giant. They are one of the biggest ice cream co-manufacturers in the world.
Yeah.
And
I met the founder
You did?
at one point. I don't think he's alive anymore. But I can't even remember what I was doing, but I was at Sunset Manor, and he was living there.
Was he?
And I met him one time.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
That'd be fascinating to
Yeah.
dive into the history of Hudsonville Ice Cream.
Yeah.
I'm honestly I don't know too much about the history myself.
Yeah.
Despite growing up in Hudsonville, they moved operations to Holland, Michigan.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's no longer located in Hudsonville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once we realized that we needed some expertise, I looked in, 100-mile radius of my house looking for what would be a good fit. And that was
Like an ice cream maker person.
ice cream scoop shops
Okay.
that made their ice cream in-house. And not only that, made the mix from scratch.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is actually a very rare thing in the ice cream world.
Yeah.
Most places that serve ice cream are going to buy in their tubs of ice cream.
Right. They
and
buy
scoop
it from other manufacturers
Definitely.
and put their own name on it or whatever.
just a
Or
lot
just
of
put
work.
Hudsonville ice cream. We have Hudsonville ice cream.
Exactly. Yep.
Right.
That's exactly
You know.
right. And that's probably 90%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you get like, that's probably 90%. And then you get another 9% that actually make the mix themselves or make the ice cream themselves. But they're going to buy in a mix. They're buying in a pre-made mix and then they're putting it in their machine and they're making the ice cream.
Not of the cream. It's just like
They're not making it from scratch.
Right.
They're just buying the mix and putting it in their machine so they can say like they're making it in-house.
They made it in-house.
Yep.
But it was a pre-made
Mix.
that they used. Okay.
Exactly. So probably like 1% or even less than that of scoop shops actually make their mix from scratch and then serve it at their facility.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I found one called Love's Ice Cream and Chocolate located downtown Market, Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Have you guys been to Love's?
No.
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
You should try it.
I will.
Yeah.
Try it.
I'm an
It's-
ice cream guy, so
Love's
The
is,
market is so cool though too.
It's
yeah.
it's amazing and
I actually went to where they made their own at a place in when we were in Atlanta. What was that place called?
I can't remember, but they did too. They
They
made
did a
their
good
own.
job, but
Yeah.
they actually made this ice cream called Everything But the Bagel. You know that seasoning?
I don't know that seasoning.
Oh, it's crazy, but it literally was a.
Was
ice
it
cream.
a savory type of a taste? I didn't buy that.
I didn't. I didn't try it either, but I was like,
Yeah.
did people buy it? And they said, yeah, people actually buy it, and it was a twist on ice cream that I've never seen where it has nothing to do with the sweet treat more than it is almost like if you melted it, it'd be like a nice soup or something. But it was good.
Interesting.
There was actually I thought it would be good for this downtown Grand Rapids. They had this where they would do these hamburgers.
Yeah.
And there was this company downtown that they did. It was called the Gramwich, I think it was called. They made this hamburger and they won best hamburger in Grand Rapids. And I can't. This is gonna sound really weird how they did it, but I would say it was how they made the sandwich hamburger. Is they made a hamburger, put a patty on there, and then they put these pickled onions on it. But then they put a scoop of blue cheese ice cream on it. And
Blue
you would
cheese
think it would be
ice cream?
disgusting, right? It sounds awful, right? But then you bit into it, and I like the artwork that was in that sandwich. It sounds so weird with like the crispiness, with the coldness, with the warm hamburger. Just made sense. Every detail about it was like this unbelievable like taste / hitting different taste buds because the cold with the warm it was good. It was amazing.
Interesting.
But it just
We're off topic.
Yeah.
No, that sounds amazing. Are they still around?
Yeah.
They weren't. From what I understand, I'm speaking from what I understand is embezzlement happened with a business partner.
Oh gosh.
I see.
That's sad.
And he ended up starting his own, I believe, restaurant. The guy did a spin-off of it. I wish he still made those things. I would go down there regularly and get them because they were so good.
Sounds amazing,
It was.
honestly.
It was
I love
really
burgers.
good.
I love ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds
But
like
you
a
had to
good
do it
combo.
right, and he
Yeah.
did. He did it exactly to
Yeah.
a T right. Yeah, it was good.
Man,
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm gonna remember that one.
Yeah.
Might have to make it at home.
It was called McKay's.
Case.
Yep, and
Okay.
it was really good. And I believe the chef's name was the guy's name. The owner was McKay, but I'm not throwing the guy underneath the bus. But that's how I understood it was his business partner embezzled money or something along those lines. How I understood it, but
Well, if McKay, if you're listening to this,
yeah,
we'd love for you to
Come.
come stop by and
for real, yeah, seriously.
try it out.
Yeah.
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 But continuing your story, you said so you went on the search for this company.
And you found Love's.
You found Love's.
Yep.
Found Love's, and that was the top of the list. It was probably the only place that would have worked for us in West
Yeah.
Michigan, maybe in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Just so happened that there was an artisan scoop shop in Grand Rapids. They made all of their mix from scratch. So I decided to go down to Love's and apply for a job.
That's
Smart.
so fun. I love it.
I went down there with my resume.
Boots on the ground.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep.
They had no idea.
And this is when I met for the first time our partner, who's now on our team.
Yeah.
His name is Chris McKellar, and he is the owner of Love's Ice Cream.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
And he did the interview with me, asked
This
me
is
a lot
awesome.
of great questions, and asked me why I wanted to be part of Loves, and I had two options. I could have kind of not
Said,
told
"Oh,
him
I
about Protein
love ice
Pints,
cream."
or I could just lay it all on the table.
Yeah.
And I decided to lay it all on the table and tell him that me and my best friend, we want to make a protein ice cream company. And that's why we were there. I didn't get the job.
He's like, "You're not going to be my competitor. Get out of here."
Well, he gave me a reality check. So I wanted to work there to learn how to make ice cream. But making ice cream takes years to learn. It's chemistry.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you'd have to go to school for that. So that didn't make sense for me to go there to learn. And they were already mostly filled with positions. So, but what ended up happening is that Chris maybe felt some compassion for us, and he
Thank
wanted
God for
to
good business owners.
and we kept that relationship alive. And I think we started meeting. We met up with him at a coffee shop, and just to talk more about the idea.
Yeah.
So we kept that relationship alive and ended up meeting up with him at a coffee shop. And Michael and I, we prepared our best recipe yet, our best protein ice cream to date. And we brought that so Chris could try it and see it.
That's cool.
If we were
Smart.
close. And
Playing
Chris
in the-
tried it, and he was very graceful. But knowing what I know now, that first product that we brought him was really, really bad. But he was so nice about it.
Yeah.
So all of our hard work over the few months making the recipe, we still had no idea what we were doing. Yeah.
Right.
But Chris saw that, and I think that he maybe admired that.
I would.
That's
How do you
awesome.
not see somebody that has perseverance, that keeps going? Because, again, it goes back to what we said about the team.
Yeah.
If you have the right people, it doesn't matter what you do. If you have the right people and you have the passion behind it, you can sell pet rocks. You can make anything work. I mean, I think about some of these inventions that people have that, like, these little bean toys and all these things that you're like, how did that even succeed?
Yeah.
But they had such a passion for pushing the thing that they believed in, and people will buy into that all day long. And I can see just in the little bit I've known you so far that the passion is insane that you have.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely super grateful.
Because most people will get beat up and they're like, I'm done.
Yep.
He sat down and was like, I'm not hiring you. And you're just like, no, it's not an answer.
Were you
Let's go.
devastated when he said that, or did you understand when he?
I was kind of like, I didn't have a plan B.
Yeah.
that was my plan, was
Yeah,
to get a
work
job
there, learn.
making ice cream and learn how to make ice cream. But
Yeah.
but I met Chris. And now Chris is
Yeah.
we couldn't have done any of this without him. So
Yeah.
that plan may have failed, but
But it turned a different.
it turned into a better opportunity. Instead
Right.
of us going and learning, Chris is on our team, and he is an ice cream wizard.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
He is incredible at what he does. So
Yeah.
it turned out better than I'd hoped for.
Okay. Nice.
So
So he with you guys now, he said he was going to start to help you produce a ice cream blend.
Sort of. So we didn't have an agreement, but I think he
Yeah.
was interested. So we started meeting once a week at this coffee shop for
Yeah.
30 minutes an hour. So we could just pick his brain.
Yeah.
And the next week, after we had brought him our ice cream, he came back to us the following week, and he had samples to try this time.
Oh.
And
that's interesting.
it blew our minds what he made, because
Wow.
it was so much better. It was the real deal. It's changed a lot since that he first brought us that, but
Yeah.
we were like, okay, this is
What
possible.
flavor
This
was
is
it?
possible. It was vanilla, and it had over 70 grams of protein in the pint.
What?
So he tried right now our pints have 45 grams, but he wanted to try like a really high protein amount just to see what would happen.
Right.
So even at over 70 grams of protein, it was awesome.
Right.
It was so good. And that's when we knew that.
So why
This
did
was
you change
possible.
it? If you can get 70 and have it great, why go to 45?
There are a lot of reasons. I would say one of them is costs. Obviously,
Yeah.
protein is a big cost driver in the ice
Big
time.
cream. A second one is that the lower the protein, the closer we're going to get towards traditional ice cream. So protein, it's going to help it a lot, but too much protein might take away. So we wanted to find a balance. 70 is really on the high side. So you're probably getting a little bit more chalky. It's still good, but it's more chalky. You go down to maybe 10, 20 grams, you're not going to taste the protein at all. 45 is it's a sweet spot
Right.
that we found.
You think in
Okay.
the future, do you see a protein ice cream in your future where it's a specialty, high priced, high protein, 70 grams of protein ice cream?
If the people want it, we'll make it. That's all I'll
Right,
say. Like
right.
if people want it, then we'll make it.
That's cool.
That's how we
But
based our
first, you
decision
have
making.
to have it wherever, like a wide variety of people are going to want it.
Right.
And I
Tailored
can
to the
see why
broad
like going in middle there would be, like, I can see why that would be
Makes
a
sense.
thing
Yeah,
at first.
70 is a lot. Like that's
That's
gonna
a
even
lot.
45.
Yeah.
Some people are intimidated.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot of protein.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I drink a protein shake every morning. And it has 30 grams of protein in it. So, like, I'm like, okay, 45. I wonder what that tastes like, you know?
Right.
So
Mhm.
it could be intimidating, but yeah.
So what
but
did you
it's
do?
good, apparently. I haven't tasted it yet.
I wish I had brought some for you guys. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, that's
no,
good.
that's okay. I'm going to probably go find where I can get it.
So what did you do from there? So he came on board,
Yes.
and then like where did you go? Like what happened? So he's like, okay, he brought it in. You're like, this is amazing.
Chris started helping us, and we applied for a pitch competition called Start Garden 100 Demo Day.
Nice.
So Start Garden 100 is you submit your idea, and 100 people are selected. So 100 ideas are selected. If your idea gets selected, you get a check for $1,000, and then you get to go to this thing called Demo Day 100, where the 100 contestants kind of compete against one another at a booth-style show. So you have your own booth, and there are judges that walk around and that kind of thing. And the top 10 get $20,000.
Wow.
So we applied for Start Garden 100 with our protein ice cream idea. It's a 60-second video. So we just pitched it, and we got accepted into the
Wow.
competition. So we didn't have a product yet. We didn't have a brand yet. And we didn't have a business plan. We didn't have all these different things, but we had 2 months to create those because we were in the competition.
Yeah.
So that really
puts a little pressure on.
it was a catalyst for us to
Yeah.
really start. So Chris helped us make samples for that event,
Yeah.
and get a product that was ready. So we had chocolate and cookie dough. Those are our first two flavors ever. Created a logo and made a business plan. And then we had our
Nice.
booth. So
Nice.
That's awesome. So how did that go for you? So you did it, and then you made it to phase. Did you make it to phase 2?
So we did not win the $20,000 check, which, I would hope that they wouldn't give the $20,000 to someone who
Just came up with their business plan a month ago.
that was our first event ever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we had gotten the money, we wouldn't have known what to do with it.
Right.
But this year we're actually in Start Garden 100 again, so you can do it multiple years in a row. So we're aiming to win that
Yep.
prize money this year.
Yeah.
Nice. That's
yeah,
cool.
that's
Okay.
September 20th. If you guys
Okay.
want to come check it out, it's a really fun event.
I would
Yeah.
love to
Be
hear that.
fun is
I would love to do that.
this episode's not going to be airing. Maybe this episode's going to air right around the time of that competition.
Yeah.
So,
That'd be interesting.
I'd like to get some
Yeah.
details on that. That'd be cool
Yeah,
to see that. and
that's
just
cool.
Go down
Of
there
course.
and check it
because
out.
maybe we
course.
can do an update at the end of it.
That would be
Hey,
fun.
just so you know,
Yeah.
they won.
Yeah.
That would
We'll
be
see.
awesome. That would be awesome.
So are you selling product yet?
We are selling. We're currently in 2 locations: the Bridge Street Market,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
that's a huge one. That's good.
a Meyer mini market
Yep.
store, and then the Grand Rapids City Gym.
Okay.
Okay, that's pretty
Nice.
cool. And how are people responding to that?
Yeah. What's the?
Do you know?
I would say it's quite positive. The price point is $9.99 per pint, so that's a bit on the higher end. So we have heard,
Yep.
if anything, we're going to hear something about that price point. But for a consumer packaged goods company, it's better to start a price high. It's much lower to lower the price.
Yeah.
And then we're also a premium good, and
Right.
then we're not to scale yet. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you scale and you figure out how to mass produce it, you can get that cost down quite a bit, I would imagine.
that's our thoughts too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think with volume, that's the goal. As you go with more volume, and you'll figure your supply chains out a little bit more, where you're getting your products from, and it's going to bring it down substantially, which is cool.
I think so. Yeah, and I think the product, the $9.99 is fair because there's nothing else like this on the market. So the only other way to get protein ice cream is to make it yourself.
Right.
Right.
And you're probably not going to be making something as high. You're definitely not going to be making something, I'm speaking from experience, as high of quality or even close in quality to what we have right now. This ice cream is probably the best ice cream for you in the world.
I love it.
Yeah, I fully believe that.
That's
So,
awesome.
So I've just
Yeah.
heard a little bit. It's grass-fed whey protein that you're using. Is that right?
Was grass fed.
Okay.
So we have had to move away from grass-fed. We're using whey isolate now, which is still
Okay.
very high quality.
Yep.
The reason you can't do grass-fed is things get a little complicated. So there's something called you have grass-fed, and then you have grass-fed finished. So often what happens with these grass-fed animals is that they're grass-fed for a few months or like, let's say 9 months of the year, and then the last 3 months of the cycle they're fed a bunch of grain. So they're grass-fed for part of the year, but then they get fat on grain. They just give them a ton of grain over a small period. So that's a whole nother level, because
Right.
you can call something grass-fed because you have it grass-fed for part of the year, but is it really grass-fed
If it isn't the whole time.
if
Right.
it isn't the whole time? And that's called grass-fed finish, and that is a whole nother level, and it's quite frankly, it's just not possible for us
Right.
to do
Yeah,
that.
because then it just your cost goes through the roof at that point, probably.
Yeah, and we can't charge people for $15 a pint.
Yeah.
That's where we're coming from. So we have to meet the consumer.
Yep.
We could do it, but you're like, we can't charge 15
Right.
plus dollars a pint.
Right.
No one's gonna buy that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You almost wonder if there's a demand in the future for custom orders for certain areas. Like you ship out to certain areas that they're like, you know what, we have no problem paying sounds crazy, $25 a pint. But the fact is you're trying to compel to, even where I wouldn't want to pay to be honest with you, $25 a pint. That's insane. But there's
Yeah.
people out there that would. They're like, yeah, in this area, we absolutely would consider that as an option, but they're not mass producing it because, so it's like these, almost like if you could push it out there, like, I don't know, it's wild, like this custom
Yeah.
order thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I think there is potential for
Yeah.
something like that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So what do you see your future looking like in this? Like, do you have a plan for that?
We do have a plan. We are going to continue scaling Protein Pints. I'm planning on staying at Michigan State for this upcoming year and then going full time on the company. I want to make this product available for everyone because that's my goal, because I eat it every day and it has had such an incredible impact on my life that I can eat ice cream and I can feel good about it. And I can,
Yeah.
I'll go to the gym and I know that this is helping me reach my goals. And not only myself, but I've seen so many different use cases where it's helping people. I'd like everyone to have access to this product.
Yeah.
I think
that's awesome.
I think that's great.
I want some.
I do too. Yeah.
I should have brought you guys some. And I
know.
honestly
We're
really
judging you.
apologize.
Just
Don't
kidding.
worry about it. I will
should
go
worry
buy
about
some because I
I'm
want
gonna-
you to be.
Yeah, I would rather
want
buy
you to
it.
benefit from it.
Absolutely. I mean, I want to
I'm
sponsor. a good
close by
business.
though. What time are you guys gonna be here till tonight? Cause I'll just run back to my house and grab some.
If you want to, that'd be
Absolutely,
great.
it'd be awesome.
What, you guys got the time?
Oh, we can. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
Okay.
You live around here? Don't tell us. You don't want to. Yeah. You're
Yeah,
good.
no, I'm close. I'm a few
You're-
miles down.
Yeah.
How
yeah.
about this? I'll go grab some pints as soon as we're done, and I'll bring them back over.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I want
that'd
you
be
guys
cool.
to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I like to ask on the show is there's a lot of young. So, like my dream for this show is there's these people that are trying new things in life, and they. I'm sure you feel this way, and you're like, well, we're doing something a lot of people aren't. What advice would you give somebody that's like, you know what, I'm trying this new idea and I'm super nervous, and you all sometimes feel like you're on an island by yourself and you're trying to figure this out. Like, what advice would you give somebody that's like wants to push a product or wants to do something and follow their dreams? Like, what's the best advice you could give to a young person?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a young person
He
giving
is.
the advice.
That's
so,
that's the best part.
yeah.
There's so many different things I think would be of value. Coming to mind, I think one would be, it's great to think about like the long picture and like all the different things that you're gonna need to do to reach your goal.
Yeah.
But oftentimes like that can be really intimidating versus what can you do in this moment right now? Like, what is that step? You know, what is the one thing you can do right now that's going to help you get there?
Right.
So, yeah, if I'm looking like, oh, I got to do, like, to get to this, to grow the company to this amount in 5 years, I got to do there's all these different things to think about. You can't even, the mind can't even conceive of it.
Absolutely.
Versus, you know, what can I do right now to push this idea forward?
Yeah.
I say that to real estate agents that get into the business is when I sit down with them, I have a tendency to overwhelm them with information. But then I say, you know what? Don't worry about any of it. Just do one thing. One thing at a time.
Yep.
Like that's it. That's all you can do with life is just do one thing at a time. And I think the best thing you can give somebody is like you can try to sell all this crazy like, hey, like I realize that about real estate brokerages is they all try to pitch their stuff. And I think having things is a good thing, right? Like, okay, you have the best software, we have this, we have that. But at the end of the day, the best thing you can offer somebody is to be their person, to be their advocate, to sit there and say, hey, you know what? I don't understand Protein Pints. I don't understand what you're doing, but I'm in your community, and if you need me as a resource, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And you're like, that gives you the confidence to say, I got people that care about me, that are behind me. I can do some stuff. And if I have an oh crap moment, I'm going to reach out to my resources. I think that's the best thing you can offer somebody in life is just like to be their person and say, hey, I'm here to advocate for you. I'm behind you. Anything that you need, I got your back. And I think goes back to the beautiful part about community and saying, hey, do you have a community that actually cares about you and is there for you?
That's awesome.
huge. Yeah,
I would agree. Is that how you kind of felt when Shelly was?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I try to be for people. Yeah, but absolutely. When I'm sitting here and I was like, okay, I'm working. I don't know how to, and she'll laugh about this, but I remember when I first got into real estate, I was like, I don't, there were certain parts of real estate I wanted nothing to do with. Like, and she laughed. She goes, you will someday. I go, I want nothing. It seems like too big of a task to go into it. And as I felt comfortable with people that had my back and her defending me on things and like, hey, no, you can do this and backing you up, in time you start to develop this. I'm not really you don't fear anything. You're just like, all right. And then it's like you start to then do other things and try things. And you're like, okay, I always know I got somebody that has experience behind me that has my back. And then it's almost like it's like going into war, but you have a general that you know is supporting you, and that they're gonna, if you have an oh crap moment, they might be flying some jets in to help you out or whatever it may be. You see the picture I'm trying to paint.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, like, oh, I'm willing to be the troops. I'm willing to walk in, but I know that my people have my back there, and I'm okay. So I have no problem taking those. And I think that's where your buddy felt when you said quit your job.
Well, and that's
Or quit school, not your job.
Yeah,
quit
your
school.
School, and then that's probably what you guys felt when you had what's the guy's name at Love's?
Chris.
Yeah,
Chris.
So now Chris, he's got all the knowledge and stuff that you needed to actually develop this, and to have him behind you.
Now he's like,
That's
okay,
amazing.
but I need you to be the troops. Go.
Yeah.
That's what Chris is feeling.
Yeah.
I know he is right now. Yeah.
Definitely. Michael and I were very naive when we started.
Yeah.
So, and very optimistic, still are.
Yeah.
So, and Chris has said himself that Michael and I are leading the charge. But yeah, having Chris there as like the backbone and support, and
That's huge.
believing in us since day one, helping us however he can, man. Like,
Right.
yeah, he's an incredible human
awesome.
being for
Yeah,
sure.
that's cool.
That's awesome. Because I know we see that a lot in our
Big time.
brokerages. Like, I know that's what Steve and I were to
Big
you
time.
guys.
Absolutely.
And then now we've got these franchisees, and we're supporting them, but the whole idea is for them to support the
100%.
region. So everybody needs to have somebody in their court.
Yeah, just have people
Behind
that
them.
actually care.
Everybody needs
Just
that.
say, hey, I'm here for you. If you really need me, I got you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm there for you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Who is that for Derek?
Who is that for Derek? Hey, Derek, you can speak up. Who is that for you?
Oh, man. I've got so many people in my corner these days, I don't even know.
I love it.
That's awesome.
That's a blessing. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. I don't know if you guys could hear him online, but he said he has a lot of people in his corner. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's awesome.
So if people want to get a hold of you, could you ship? Like if somebody's like, hey, I want to buy some, like I want to get into all your details of how people can get a hold of you. Like even if you're like have a small
Yeah, what if
convenience store,
somebody
like how does
said, I
that
want
work
you
for
to
you?
ship stuff to you?
Unfortunately, we're not focusing on shipping right now.
Yeah.
It's simply not feasible. You'd probably have to order at least a lot of ice cream for it.
So if they own a store, let's say, and they're like, I want to buy some, or
They'd
like,
have
how
to
do
be
they get a hold of you?
It'd
Like
have
what does
to be
that
a
work?
local store, probably.
Yep, local stores. We're obviously our manufacturing is here in West Michigan, so we need to build out of West Michigan before we can go to other states.
Yep.
So if you're from West Michigan and you're looking for a high protein ice cream,
Yeah,
you could serve that need or no?
we can. Yeah. Would love to actually.
Yeah.
We want to build from here in West Michigan.
Yeah.
We love this community.
So you're probably looking at what would be your target to get into, like just small grocery stores, or I know you're in a gym, so you want to get into a bunch of gyms.
Yeah, what does that look like?
What does it look like? Who would be your target market right in this area?
We've had great success at the gym that we're at. It's a privately owned gym, and the owner bought a $600 display freezer because he loved the product so much.
Oh, wow.
That's huge.
So we've been restocking that for him, and it's been selling really well. So I think gyms is definitely a feasible thing to do if there are some gym owners that are interested in having the product at their gym, or retail stores, grocery stores.
Okay.
So if you're a retail store or you're a gym owner, we actually have had where one of the people that we had on here, they ran, it used to be Fit Body Boot Camps, but then they switched over to, what's the name of it? Transform Fitness, and they're all over this area. They have quite a few locations, so maybe that's a good connection for you. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
So how can people reach out to you? Like if they say, hey, I'm a small business, or I want this product, how do they reach out to you?
The best ways would be our Instagram. Just send us a message on Instagram, or the website. We have a contact form.
On the website.
Okay.
And your website is proteinpints.com?
Exactly, proteinpints.com.
Keep it easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely I highly encourage our audience to reach out if you're,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beautiful part about a community is just definitely growing, and I'm excited to see.
I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to see where
I
this
know.
goes for you, because that's amazing. So,
Yeah.
Excited to see what you guys think about
Yeah.
the product.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I
Yeah.
can't say I'm not jonesing about it. Yeah, that's pretty cool
That's awesome.
to try it.
Well, this is the part in our show where we do a message in the bottle. So our last guest left a message in there for you. So if you want to grab that bottle and get the message out.
Sometimes they're hard to get out. Oh, it came out good.
Yep.
Do you know what the question is?
We don't.
We have no idea.
I
You
seen her
don't know.
write it, but I don't know what it says.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a statement. I mean, who knows? Is it just a smiley face? Just kidding.
Okay. This one's a bit ironic, but it says, wisdom can come with age and experiences. What wisdom, advice, or words of encouragement would you give to your younger self?
That's a good one, though.
That is
Still,
a
you're
really good one.
22, but you at 18, you had some thoughts and
That is a great point. Yeah. I said ironic because I'm assuming I'm the youngest guest you've had on the show.
So
I would
far,
say
I think
so. You
probably,
are, yeah.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, this is a fantastic question. I would say don't. I mean, my advice to my younger self would probably be don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Be fearless.
Be fearless.
I like that.
Be fearless.
That's actually great advice. I learned that from one of my mom said that, because my mom, she never had money almost her whole life that I could ever remember, and in the last 10 years she's achieved some wealth, right? And it's all done on her own, like her working hard and enjoying. That was the key. She enjoyed what she did. So she eventually found a job that she loved working for, and it was wild that the advice she gives me to this day is take risk. Don't worry about life, because if I can achieve, she always says, if I can achieve what I did in 10 years, you can make a lot of mistakes. Like, I think you're 22. You can make a lot of mistakes before you're 55. Like, think about it, right? Like,
Right.
And then you still have 10 years to really achieve the things that you want if you put your head down and you work. So even if you do fail for the next, I mean, what's that, 55? 30 years. You're in still good shape. You still can make it. And she lives a great life, can go anywhere she wants, vacation anywhere she wants, which is pretty wild to think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
Be fearless. That's
Be fearless.
awesome.
That is awesome. That's good.
Awesome.